Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another edition of Celebrity Natal Charts. Today, we're going to be looking at the natal chart of Jennifer Coolidge, who is a Virgo rising Scorpio. Um, she was born in Boston, Massachusetts, United States, August 28, 1961, 1:09 p.m. Birth time accuracy excellent. So we can account that this will be pretty accurate. She's also born in the year of the ox, which I just looked up, so you seem smart. But Jennifer Coolidge, born August 28, 1961, is an American actress and comedian known for playing Stifler's mom in the MILF in the film American Pie 1999, Hilary Duff's stepmother in A Cinderella Story 2004, Paulette, the manicurist in Legally Blonde 2001, very popular, very famous role, and its sequel, the voice of Aunt Fanny in the animated feature Robots 2005, and her role in The Secret Life of American Teenager as Betty, and for her regular role on NBC's sitcom Joey as Joey's agent. I just recently, Bobby Morgenstein, they started putting Joey on YouTube, and I was like very pleasantly surprised and shocked that she was a part of that. She is also a regular actor in the Christopher Guest mockumentary films. Coolidge is an alumna of the Groundlings, an improv and sketch comedy troupe based in Los Angeles. She stars in the CBS sitcom Two Broke Girls as Sophie, Max and Caroline's Polish upstairs neighbor who owns a cleaning business, which I sort of hate that show, but so that's her as Jennifer Coolidge. I think that it's very synchronistic that she is a rising Scorpio because she's kind of like the queen of the comeback. Is sort of looked at like a older, maybe over the hill type character who keeps coming back fresh and new. And since these bios are from 2015, it doesn't include. I haven't seen the show, but it's very popular. I believe it's called. I don't remember what it's called now. White Lotus. She's in the show White Lotus, which everybody's loving, and Ariana Grande celebrates her, and she's amazing. So as a rising Scorpio, naturally in her first house she has Scorpio, meaning that she kind of gets her self-esteem from the Scorpion energies in her life. Whether if that's occult magic and tarot and astrology, or casting illusions and being on television, as she's had a lot of TV roles. She also has Neptune in her first house of Scorpio, meaning that whoever was opening the door for her to get on television was probably a Scorpio, could be herself. And if, different TV roles and acting opportunities is how she gets her self-esteem, she's probably looking very self-esteemy right now as she has a lot of TV acting credits and roles. Joey being one of my favorites. In her second house, she has Sagittarius. So second house in Sagittarius, it talks about being very competitive about money and finances and things like that. So she may not seem like a wealthy miser or something like that. She, in interpersonal conversations, she could be very competitive about how much money she has, jewelry and other things like that. Also, I see this as something explaining that her finances come or are supported by competitions. So perhaps while in the Groundlings or something, there's some type of star search element, American Idol thing that has been good for her or will be good for her in the future, or for other rising Scorpios. She has a third house in Capricorn, where she also has the planet Saturn and Jupiter, which I guess the business end or business aspects of life are somewhat limitations for her, but also very lucky in those situations as well. The rising Scorpio, third house in Capricorn, does talk about a deep affinity or attraction to the mother's sisters, the aunties and uncles on your mother's side of the family, for whatever reason, because of Vedic astrology, some guy told me once. But I see that in myself as a rising Scorpio as well. There's just their attention means a lot to you. But then also, as her being Jennifer Coolidge and sort of an auntie character in the first place, MILF, older attractive lady. Maybe she's very important to a lot of older women and things like that in the world. People in suits that are good at business that cause limitations or somewhat sabotage her are actually good luck for her because of her Jupiter position here as well. And then also, I guess, where is she from? She's from Boston, I think. at Boston, Massachusetts. So this talks about like the third house talks about like your childhood environment, where you grew up as a kid. So you probably lived in some type of like business district or businessy area of Boston. The fourth house also talks about your home, your emotions, your connection to your mother, where she has Aquarius, which talks about like discomfort, estrangement, abandonment, itchiness, just awkwardness, and not a comfortable relationship with the mother or maternal energies. And I think also like as a woman, as an actress, it is really hard to step into the like matron or crone part of your life and then also be celebrated for that as well. It's like maybe like combative energies of like her own want or diswant of being a mother or being celebrated by mothers and maternal energy. Fourth house Aquarius also talks about like wherever she was growing up being cold, which Boston is cold. She has a fifth. Let's see to make sure. Fifth house is definitely in Pisces, but there's also some interactions with Chiron here. And I think that she has, okay, so she has a fifth house in Pisces and also Chiron in Pisces as well, which says that, I guess like being like somewhat of a salacious character, American Pie, and all these other things. It's like she has the ability, maybe from like looking at her, or maybe like acting the opposite of how she acts or whatever. It's like she has an ability to help people get in touch with like God and spirituality in ways that she struggles herself because of Chiron. So, I don't know, like I would listen to Jennifer Coolidge talk about astrology or the Bible or something, but maybe she wouldn't want to listen to herself do that, as she might have good insights. But then it's actually very difficult to have Chiron in the fifth house because the fifth house also talks about distractions. And so as a rising Scorpio, maybe there's a lot of Pisces or, internet astrologers that she listens to that might be, misleading her or not giving her the right information. And how she overcomes those maybe overwhelmed by options, but obstacles and limitations is through the power of her sixth house, which she has Aries and also her moon. So it means like getting angry and acting like a lunatic. So I guess like someone's trying to like cheat her or scam her, she just turns on their flame princess powers. The moon in Aries also talks about like your go-to emotion or feeling is anger. So, some people might watch like a civil rights documentary and it might make them sad. It might make them, want to do better at business so they can fund things and businesses to, disassemble these power structures. Where somebody with the moon in Aries, it makes them angry, red in the face, maybe even embarrassed about like bigotry and prejudices and things like that. So that's her. And her seventh house of like love and relationships, which I keep quoting David Bowie and Iman because they're like astrologically compatible and then we're married, but never know like the inner workings of a person's relationship. She has Taurus, so her best love match or affair or business partner would be someone who's a Taurus, someone who's like money minded, and probably not into like spendthrift Scorpion energy. And probably also wants to live on a farm or something one day, like Green Acres. Her eighth house, she has Gemini. So the eighth house in Gemini does talk like to say it's like a person who's like openly talks about like God and spirituality and their spiritual beliefs, and there's somewhat like a microphone for it. So if she was part of like Scientology or something, she'd be like insufferable. So whatever Catholicism, Scientology, Kabbalah stuff that she may have been into, maybe into in the future, she's like a mouthpiece for it and talks about it a lot. And then I see this a lot, like right now, you have like people like Gwen Stefani and other people whose careers are like, vague, that they'd start to talk about God and the Bible or like, pray with me on YouTube, which I think is a good thing to have. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's like, if it's like a redemption arc, you know what I mean? So I forget his name, but like Pee Wee Herman, like, not a very respectable, it's coming to me, but I don't remember Pee Wee Herman, like not a very respectable face, like not a really great reputation. But that's the thing about religion, is that it's about a redemption arc. So, you have to have forgiveness for him, forgiveness for yourself, and then hopefully he can make a dime and not die while he's sitting on a talking chair talking about Jesus. The Pee-wee's play has like talking chairs and animals and things. She has. Maybe he's a rising Scorpio too. I'm gonna remember his name like the end of this video. It's like coming to me. So you have the 8th house in Gemini, 9th house in Cancer, meaning that, it's sort of synchronistic. The whole like MILF phenomenon that started from American Pie, because it's like her philosophy on life, her philosophies on life come from her mother or come from like maternal energies, Cancer. Also long distance travel and higher education. So, maybe her mother was like very supportive, or very pushy to her in her career. She also has Venus in Cancer. So it's like her maternal energies are very attractive to people, and she's Jennifer Coolidge. So like fill in the blanks. 10th house in Leo. So this is a great thing about having the rising Scorpio. As competitive and bad at business as you are, and as cold as your mother is, and as much as you talk about Jesus, it is your destiny to be famous and to have a lot of notoriety and attention, and I think she has that. Not to say that every rising Scorpio does, but she does. I think in this series, like Jim Carrey is a rising Scorpio, maybe, could be wrong, and maybe Justin Bieber. So things like very close to that, where it's like, Jim Carrey sort of has like really good job security. Like they come out with Grinch 4, he'll most likely be in it, hopefully, at least voice acting in an animated series. She also has some planet in Leo. I think it is Uranus, I want to say. Yes, Uranus and Leo. So, for some people, you could see Uranus and Leo as like a very challenging position, where it's like somebody who wants to be a shy, dorky, nerdy Aquarius, but is like pushed into the spotlight. But then also I see that as like a very like balanced energy, where it's like you're not a complete ham, which Jim Carrey says to be a complete ham. But it's like you're not a complete ham. You're very humbled by the balance of these opposite energies. And then in her 11th house, she has Virgo, where she also has her Sun, Mercury, and Pluto. Mercury means she talks like a Virgo, very persistent, consistent. I wouldn't necessarily say that she's conservative based on like her movies and everything. Her movies do tend to be like somewhat like salacious and like frat boy party movies, and even the TV shows. Like Two Broke Girls is like, it's like almost somebody like making fun of misogyny or like, it's just like very gross for no reason. Not a fan. But then Pluto, it's also how she brings change into her life. Sun, it's who she is at her soul, like a very conservative, consistent, persistent, annoying person. Which I would say, like, if you were a competitor of hers, like if you hated Jennifer Coolidge and hated seeing her face, a lot of TV roles, sneaking around in the background of Joey, HBO things and movies, so Hilary Duff movies. I'm always like happy to see her, so I can't imagine anyone feeling that way, but if they did, like if you're like Bette Midler or something, like you want to be the MILF. And then in her 12th house, she has Libra and also Mars. So the rising Scorpio, like I keep saying, as great as it is, as Justin Bieber and Jim Carrey as it is your destiny to be famous and receive a lot of attention. Think about dating a Leo or someone who doesn't want to see you shine or outshine them, or anybody in a relationship. The Libra 12th house talks about like having troubles in relationships actually making you miserable. So if you were an actor and you're dating Jennifer Coolidge and she's having all this like whirlwind success, she's not working out, she's not like, she isn't Megan Fox or anybody, but she's getting cast in roles and things like that. It could, cause a lot of like petty competitions, and there are a lot of people where it's like, who's gonna date them? You know what I mean? Like, they're at the top of the world. Who has a comparable energy, like Denzel Washington or something, right? Where she has Mars, so like relationships also make her angry and frustrated and irritated. And as I said, as a rising Scorpio, it's like something I completely understand. And maybe even like the isolation of being a celebrity and being famous and seeing other people in relationships and living normal lives with their 2.4 children might make her also miserable as well. And that's her. She gets all of her self-esteem from all the amazing roles that she's had. Cold family, should date a Taurus, destined to be famous and have good hair, good blonde hair. Leo, is annoying and persistent and consistent to her friends, and relationships make her miserable. But the thing, though, too, about the Scorpio ox, the one thing that I know I've read in a book, let's see, Suzanne White's New Astrology, where she compares Eastern and Western astrology together. So you look through the book and it's like, you know, Pisces ox, Virgo ox, whatever ox. Oh, she's a Virgo ox and not a Scorpio ox. I'm just too consumed with the fact that she's rising Scorpio. They kind of like put the energies together and they talk about like what that means. The one thing that I know the most about the ox is that in the Jade Emperor's race, as there's a lot of animals like riding on each other, there's like two stories that I've heard. One is that the ox was like the most durable through the race, getting through swamps and whatever else happens, while the rat was riding on the ox's back. And then once they get to the finish line, the rat jumps off the ox's back and then wins, and that's why the rat is the first sign of the Chinese zodiac. Whereas other myths are like the rat was like playing a flute on the ox's back, and the Jade Emperor loved it, and so he's like almost like a chariot for music and beauty that comes from a rat. So this is a little blurb from the horoscopes.co. It says the Chinese ox Western Virgo combination makes for a perfectionist individual, like the Virgo, whom is, however, toned by earthly perspective of the ox. These people may be blamed for a rigid temperament when, in fact, all they do is be just. All they do is be just and follow same principles with everyone. It's a little tricky on the tongue there. They will praise and criticize in equal measure, but at least with them you have the guarantee of an honest opinion. So what does it say? These people may be blamed for a rigid temperament when in fact all they do is be just and follow same principles with everyone. It's a little, whatever, choppy. Okay, well, that's been my really brief look at Jennifer Coolidge's natal chart. If you know somebody who is a Virgo rising Scorpio and you want to tell them how many amazing comebacks they're going to have in their life and how they're going to be, you know, celebrated much into like old age as she is, you should send them this video. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. I will see you in my next video. Bye.